Welcome to the Foundry News. I'm Sleepy, and in this segment, I want to discuss a technique that I work on when I personally hit the heavy bag in the gym, and then link it to a concept and an idea that really people likely wouldn't naturally connect. Now, this concept that I'm talking about, or this technique, is called casual chaos, and it's personally opened my eyes to connections outside of boxing, right? Now, when we talk about boxing itself, when anyone does bag work, they receive feedback, right? And really, the most immediate area of feedback is power, right? And the idea is that you don't even have to consciously understand that you're receiving feedback to increase your power. You just know that you want to hit the bag harder, and unconsciously your body would make that connection to try to help you respond. And this is when you expand your areas of feedback. When we talk about boxing, this increases the effectiveness of your actual bag work, right? And bag work is the what we call it when someone hits the heavy bag. But I'd personally say that really your nervous system really is responding to your expanded area of focus by really providing more to your conscious awareness in terms of your biomechanics and controlling your biomechanics of punches in general. Now, casual chaos it's likely just a new name for an existing concept that trainers may use when they prepare fighters, right? Or some trainers may use when they actually prepare fighters. I don't see this like all the time, but I know that there's some superb. I would be shocked, honestly shocked, if there's like a whole bunch of trainers looking like, oh my god, this guy's like really special in this. But this idea, this ideology, it's really rooted in seeking resource efficiency, right? When you hit the bag. So when you hit the bag, a lot of fighters, they'll focus on like the actual form of their actual body, things of that nature, and the speed that their hand comes back to their cheek, sometimes depending on how much they've been drilled, and really how much they really have to think about in terms of to really just appease their trainer. They do these things, right? But when we talk about resource efficiency and consciously seeking resource efficiency from the bag, while you try to maintain all other areas of technique, that's what we talk about when it's in this concept called casual chaos. And just to give you an idea of really in practice, as you've likely seen it, if you've seen like older trainers decide to get in the ring and spar, maybe like the younger new guy that decides to come in and challenge them or something like that, but they'll get in the ring, and one thing you'll notice is they don't expend nearly as much energy as the younger fighter that they're really about to just completely destroy. But the idea is that they're casual in how they approach the actual fight itself. Now, it seems like that age and experience has taught them to be efficient with energy, right? That's the easiest way to really come about that mindset, because the quote is, necessity is the mother of invention. And I mean that's a quote for a reason. It's just what it is, right? And really the concept of casual chaos is, the technique that I'm really talking about here is, it's when you consciously instill this concept into someone with particularly a more youthful spirit, right? Because we're talking about the casualness, but what the chaos is the idea of them understanding and being aware of where to put that energy that they really do have available to them, and a much larger to a much larger degree than someone who's older than them. Now, me personally, what I've realized about this concept is that it takes time investment, right, into refining the mechanical structure of every single punch, every single motion, and casual chaos is, I think it's linked to, I link it to more than just the actual, the actual physical component of it, but it's the primary thing. But what you'll notice is when talent and skill fail to stop someone in the ring, it will become really a measure or a competition between how someone expends resources and really reserves resources. Because when top performers get in the ring, that's when you see what happens when all of the tricks in your bag don't necessarily work to the same degree that they've been working on opponents that haven't necessarily made it to that top echelon. Okay? So you hit someone as hard as you can, and up until now it's stopped everyone, but now you're looking at another top echelon fighter, so it doesn't stop them. Okay, what happens now? Because if that was the only trick that you had in your bag, if that was it, then you won't have anything else, right? Or there's a case that I think about when I think about someone who's really reliant on the idea of power, and that was Deontay Wilder. And for those that don't know, Deontay Wilder is called the Bronze Bomber, right? So he just, he was absolutely destroying people. And he probably, honestly, no one, and even the person who beat him couldn't take his hit, but he knew how to dodge it. And that was the thing, like he knew, and he had very strong talent in dodging hits to actually stay away from his actual punch. And that right there, what you seen that crumble. You seen that idea of being solely reliant on one thing just completely crumble. And this is what happens, right? When you don't necessarily take that to another degree in terms of like expanding your capabilities and things of that nature. But it's now just bringing this back to casual chaos. What I can see is when I look at a fighter move, and I understand like how they tense up and just how much energy they put into every single movement. Myself or some other trainer may look at the person and be able to really tell their capability and gauge their overall experience, just even along with the talent and skill, right? But the analogy I think that I really want to draw here is that is really tying to specific, like it ties to so many different things, but specifically here I want to talk about car manufacturing, right? And when I talk about car manufacturing, I specifically want to talk about Tesla Motors. Now, this idea of what we're seeing right now with what we've seen with Tesla Well, first, let me just sidebar this real quick, because I think this needs to be addressed. If there's a lot we can say about Elon, right? There's a lot I can say about Elon in general. Actually, I have a video out about Elon, and this is, I think you should definitely check that out. But if you are particularly a fan of Elon, I highly recommend that you look into whatever specific involvement in the thing that makes you respect him the most, right? Because even after he got political in a way that I was kind of turned off of, I didn't immediately realize that he, like, just how fraudulent that he really was. And this idea of where I'm at now, I think I was most disappointed with the idea that I found out that his Tesla, the first Tesla model, when he made claims that to make that open source so other car manufacturers could use it, I had a lot of respect for that. I thought that was tremendous. I remember thinking, like, wow, man, he's really doing the stuff. And come to find out, he didn't make it. Not only did he not make it open source, he didn't make it. He was not the guy who actually revolutionized the actual engineering genius behind the first Tesla. Because it was engineering genius, but it wasn't his engineering genius. Martin Eberhard was the guy who made the first Tesla, right? And we haven't seen success like that since. Elon has not taken the ball to reflect someone who's knowledgeable about what to do with that particular product and what to do with the just Tesla Motors in general. But we'll get into that. But this is there have been open source cars made, and I want to point that out. And the important thing here is that what Elon provided wasn't something to where people could take and replicate the Tesla Roadster. They could not reproduce it from what he actually made, quote unquote, open source. Now, Elon has said, he's actually opened his mouth and said that he may know more about manufacturing than anyone alive today. That is, I'm like, I don't know, like how wrapped in the culture and stuff you guys are, but this guy Fresh from Fresh and Fit podcast, these are like the alpha males. one of those podcasts. There's a guy Fresh. He's like very clearly like socially awkward. There's no way that he's like very knowledgeable, but he gets on podcasts and talks about women and how women need to be. But he made a claim in a statement about like he's had relations with over 1,000 women or something like that. I think that right there was a good analogy to how I felt when I seen that he said that and when he made that statement, because there's absolutely, he doesn't qualify. To put it simply, he does not qualify. And if you believe that he does qualify, you're very likely in a situation to where you believe that the money that he has is proof of his genius, is proof of his innovative capability. And I assure you, it is not. Okay? You need to look into whatever makes you respect him, and you will find things. And that right there is, and it's not going to be something like, oh, some, off the beaten article. It'll be something that he's actually said out of his mouth that is just like, wait a second. that doesn't make sense. What are you talking about? But he'll say it with enough confidence, and I think that's what's. I mean, honestly, that's probably the scariest thing I think about Elon. I've really come to is just that he is the most consistent, boldest liar, and very much delusional about his ability and competence. Even while even if he knows he's lying, he's delusional about what he can lie about and what he can't lie about. It's insane. It's insane to think that you can come out your mouth and say that. Specifically, the idea of you being the best manufacturer to ever live. Like, I mean, if you're interested in knowing someone who may qualify for that particular title, so far what I've really found is that the microchip manufacturer, Morris Chang, there's a book called Chip Wars, and it talks a little bit about him, but that's probably the closest that I've really found in terms of someone who really I feel would qualify for that title if we're going to give that title to someone. Elon is not it. He is not it. If as soon as you look into and do any type of investigation into Elon, the myth falls to pieces. So please be aware of that. But coming back to this idea of the actual subject in hand, I think Ludicrous is really the main book that we want to talk about, or the main book that really may open my eyes to this particular idea of what's happening with Tesla Motors. And it really it honestly just opened my eyes to Tesla Motors in general in terms of how it exists and what's really making it like run right now. But in terms of when we talk about manufacturing, one of the primary indicators of resource efficiency is going to be cost, right? So money, right? That's just the same way in Casual Chaos. I can look at other people and how they expend energy or waste energy. I can kind of look at, someone in a car manufacturer can look at someone who's producing cars and understand, like, oh, these are, this is how you refined yourself. You've refined yourself by doing this, or you kind of have an idea, right? And it's all around money, right? Like, oh, you spend this much money, or you spend this much money or time, but the idea is the same. But when it comes down to cheaper cars in general, right? When it comes down to cheaper vehicles, we're looking at less overhead. Okay, you have less room to really get more out of the product. And the idea here is that when someone is able to produce high quality or quality cheap cars, we won't say high quality because we'll leave that for expensive cars or whatever, but when someone's able to produce quality affordable cars, we won't say cheap cars either, that doesn't make too much sense, but when we talk about just the idea of producing that, it's actually a result of refined manufacturing, highly refined manufacturing. That is what makes it really, really possible. And the idea here is that you understand how to make these, how to really, like that same thing with the Ford line and the Ford, in terms of understanding how to fit every single piece into a certain socket and things like that, and have everyone play a role in this particular larger, process. That's what you really see. Okay, you see the refined manufacturing, and particularly when we talk about cars, there's a concept called TPS, and it stands for Toyota Production System, right? And the idea here is that with casual chaos, there's the time of it, the time that I take when I hit the bag. I slow down, and I refine, and I literally I start to there's a slight motion that I'll make with certain things, and try to see where the force is or how that force is generated, and start to kind of see how I can generate more force, or the same force, with less energy, right? So the idea here is that with TPS, they take that time that I take to refine the actual hit, rather than actually practicing actual punching the bag full force and just taking that time. TPS is all about the absorbing the cost and refining that process, right? So in terms of me, I would slow down while I hit the bag, but car manufacturers, they would slow down the actual production line. If they notice a mistake, they slow down the entire process. And that right there makes a ton of sense to business people who are, obviously trying to say, hey, look, we're trying to make this as efficient as possible. But in Tesla Motor, and Ludicrous, the book, that someone tried to do that with Tesla, and they were told not to do that. They were told, don't slow down the process. And that's the thing, Elon is still acting like one of these, let me be nice about it, these the tech guys that go out and say, and try to get things done, move fast and break things. And that doesn't work in the car business for obvious reasons, but it does not work. There's no, you don't just move fast and break things. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why that's not translatable to the car industry. Among all of them is going to be lives, the lives that you can possibly put at risk, but also the idea of being more efficient. The actual, when you're in this, and you're in this for the long haul, you don't want those defects to continue to exist because they pile up, right? You don't want to bring that culture into a car manufacturer, right? And that's what's really worrying, is because the culture there, it was it was a Tesla whistleblower that came out, but that was the whistleblower really talked about how it was really a culture that he was disturbing when he raised up the voice about, hey, look, we need to fix this problem. And he, it really does it spoke to me, because it's just the way people treated him, the way Elon was able to go out in front of everyone, and he said something out loud in front of everyone, say, hey, don't slow things down, or something like that. But, it was indicative of someone who did not think about TPS, the Toyota Production System, and that's fundamental, right, to car manufacturers everywhere, even outside of Toyota. And the idea of Elon failing to deliver cost-efficient cars, it really does. The book talks about how he's building cars he may be really focused on building cars closer to a hobbyist rather than a car manufacturer, right? And that's not going to lead to cost-efficient cars. That's going to lead to someone who's continuing to try to keep up and do the next and the best thing, right? Because Elon's very much addicted. For anyone who doesn't know, he's addicted to the spotlight, right? And that's, he needs to be in front. He needs to be on the trend. He needs to be creating the next trend, and rather than focusing on what he does best. And it's very worrisome. And this is I'm not saying that, and that's important that people understand, because I'm not saying that every Lexus needs a Toyota or every Infiniti needs a Maxima, right? But we should understand the gravity in a high quality car manufacturer making a promise to deliver a line of affordable cars, because that's completely, that is, if they are high quality and they have that talent and skill, and they are promising now to be efficient with that, that's different. That's not something that's taken lightly, right? For anyone who is serious about car manufacturing, they won't go out there and just say that blatantly. And that's what we're seeing with Elon. We're seeing that. We're seeing him go out there and say, outside of even just affordable cars, there's a lot of things that stick out in this book. I've completely lost faith in Elon as a even being an evil genius. I think that if he does really do any chaos, it'll be because someone's behind him pulling the strings to do said chaos. I don't believe he's an evil genius. I don't believe he's a genius. I just think that he's a useful idiot. And it's very much telling, I think, in this particular ideology. But you want to understand that people should be wary of the idea and really consider the idea that Tesla Motors' success is due to Elon only in advertisement, right? The idea of the Silicon Valley culture of exciting people and making them believe that all of their statements are backed by some kind of unseen tech genius type of field. A lot of this is a facade. A lot of this has proven to be a facade. And I want you guys to really, really start to understand and start to at least consider the idea that the success of Tesla Motors in general could be due to Martin Eberhard and what he's done, right? And just for Elon's credit, he apparently did have a role in the Roadster, but it was in how the actual Roadster looked. There was no role in the actual engineering. It was just in the role of I believe it was the door. He wanted to make it look more sports-like, and that's the thing. I think Elon knows how to look. I think he knows how people want, people would expect someone to look. I just don't think that he's very much capable in terms of actually fulfilling that role in any genuine capacity. So if, say for instance, if I was an investor in any one of Elon's successful companies, because a lot of them have fallen through the cracks and are not talked about anymore, it's not something that we discuss, I would start to look into really the people who are likely the driving force behind those successful companies, and start to understand their mindset and start to try to dig out and find their mindset, because that may yield more understanding into the culture and understanding into maybe what you should do in the future. And I certainly hope you guys like the video. If you didn't like it, if you're a Dogecoin investor or something, you can also dislike the video and comment some hate mail. And if you're genuine about like, hey, I really believe Elon's a genius, please say why, what made you respect him, and what makes you really think that he's going to take us to Mars or carry through on any of the things that he said he's going to do, or if if you really want to talk about Elon's actual accomplishments. Thank you.